This episode of Sci-Fi Timelines is more than meets the eye. That's right, in honor of the new Bumblebee movie coming out, we're going to talk about the Transformers series. And it's a hugely, mega, massive budgeted series, so the continuity and timeline are bound to make sense. Right? Right? Okay, so let's get this right out of the way, because there was an animated movie that spun out of the TV series back in 1986, but as it's not connected to the cinematic franchise, and as part of its own continuity, I'm really not including it, except to point out that they stole Dirk Diggler's song.
You got the touch. You got the power. You got the touch. You got the power.
Then, back in 2007, the nostalgia wave struck with Transformers, directed by a little indie director named Michael Bay. We kick off in Qatar, and what it says is present day, so possibly 2007. And we meet Duhamel, and hear the transform sound for the first time when we meet Blackout. And then we meet Sam Witwicky, who is played by a guy who has never been in an Indiana Jones movie because there's only 3. Only 3! He buys a mysterious car that's not a bug, and the defense secretary is Angelina Jolie's dad. Sam's eBay auction ends a little over 6 days on June 6th of 2007, so we're set on May 31st or so, 2007. Scott Farkas shows up, as does Jennifer's body's body. Trish Walker pops in with Andrew Wells. We meet Scorponok, as I realize I don't hate CGI when it comes to robots. Anthony Anderson's here, and Sam meets Barricade and is saved by Bumblebee, who finally reveals himself, and then upgrades. More Autobots arrive, and we meet Optimus Prime, Ironhide, Ratchet, and, Jazz, whose first line is, "What's crackin', little bitches?" Subtle. Barton Fink rolls in and gets pissed on. Subtler. Decepticons show up, and they're after the Allspark, a source of Transformer life, and Megatron is reborn. He kills Jazz, and the Allspark turns a bunch of regular things into Transformers, and after a bunch of property damage, Sam puts the Allspark cube in Megatron, which kills him. And Bumblebee can talk now. And the Autobots decide to stick around on Earth. So go figure, people like giant robots. So 2 years later, in 2009, we get Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, which starts in 17,000 BC, and then goes to today, where Optimus says that they've teamed up with humans for the past 2 years. So we're in 2009 here, and Sam's off to college, and long lingering shots of Megan Fox are back, and Sam accidentally turns his kitchen appliances into Transformers, including one with a shooting penis, and Bumblebee can't talk again for some reason, and I guess he just lives in Sam's garage. Soundwave shows up, but he's not a cassette player, so screw that. And there's dozens of scenes of awkward comic relief, and we're 6 hours into the movie. It's only been 30 minutes. Can I just do Amityville again? Megatron is revived, and he has a master called the Fallen. Bears, Beats, Battlestar Galactica, and Sam's roommates make a 2008 cat calendar, but he says it's where he started, so it makes it seem like that they're last year's calendars. And Sam's fling ends up being a Decepticon, and after a big fight, Megatron kills Optimus as the Fallen strikes Earth. Sam's driver's license show his date of birth as 91, so he's 18 here, which makes sense. And Mudflap and Skids here are possibly the most racist thing ever in a big budget film. Totoro's back as a butcher, and for some reason they make us look at his ass. And Jetfire appears, although this one's not a converted Robotech toy, and how's that for toy trivia? Comedy leg humping, robot farts, the Constructicons form Devastator, and there's a 17-hour final fight, including robot balls. Okay. Sam gets shot, but gets better, and restores Optimus, who upgrades and kills the Fallen. They all head home, and this movie is finally over. And you know, people joke about some of the terrible films I have to watch for the channel, but believe it or not, I will literally take any of those before having to watch this one again. After 2 years, 2011 brought us Transformers: Dark of the Moon, which begins in 1961 and then bounces back to present day as Sam has a new girlfriend. And then there's this driller thing. And Sam says that he's graduated 3 months out of school. So if he was starting school in the fall of 2009, that would make this the summer of 2013. Malkovich. Oddly enough, though, there's a calendar up for 2010. So I guess ignore that. Marge Gunderson pops in, as does Buzz Aldrin and McDreamy. And they find an old Autobot on the moon. Senior Chang's here, and Simmons is back trying not to be sexually harassed by this guy. So Wash comes in, trying not to be impaled. 13 years later, and it still hurts. Spock Transformer turns out to be a traitor and kills Ironhide, then brings hundreds of Decepticons down from the moon. Loverboy turns out to be evil, and the Autobots are exiled and seemingly destroyed, so Sam and Roman team up, and the Decepticons attack. No surprise, Optimus faked their deaths, and the villains are in Trump Tower. Oh. So many jokes to make. There's a whole lot of battles and stuff. Starscream dies, Wheeljack and Soundwave die, Sam kills Dempsey, Optimus pulls Megatron's whole head off and then kills Sentinel, but the Autobots are now permanently stuck on Earth. 3 more years went by, and in 2014 we get Transformers: Age of Extinction, starting us off in prehistoric times, and then back to present day with that guy from The Happening, and these stickers show that it's 2014, so we're 1 year after the last one? Weasel's here, and Fraser says that the Battle of Chicago was 5 years ago? So that would make it 2018? I mean, 5 years before 14 would be 09, and we know that the first one was in 07, so that means that Sam graduated both high school and college and then got a job in the space of 2 years. So let's just say it's 18, and those stickers were expired. Kate should really take care of that. Or the script supervisor. Humans hunt Autobots and kill Ratchet, and then there's this new bad guy Lockdown, and Dangle's here, and they find Optimus and revive him, and the government attacks, and TJ Miller's character ends up as dead as his current image. There's magically new Autobots Hound, Drift, and Crosshairs, as well as modified Bumblebee. The Tooch shows up to class things up a little bit, and they find a medal from prehistoric eras called... brace yourself. Transformium. He uses it with Megatron's head to make Galvatron, and this guy's security badge shows what is most likely an expiration date or renewal date of 2015, which is pretty hard to reconcile with this screwed up timeline unless it says higher date or something. The family's on the run and hiding, so what's the best form of lighting? Hundreds of candles, of course! Can I also point out that in this movie, Cade's daughter is a minor. She's under 18 years old, and she's dating a guy over 20 who feels so strongly about their love, he carries this card in his wallet to justify the fact that he's dating a minor, which isn't creepy at all. Optimus and Galvatron face off. We find out more info about the aliens that I guess created the Transformers, and then there's a long, lingering Bud Light ad. And no surprise, Galvatron is Megatron. The smoke monster dies, and Optimus wakes up the Dinobots, and there's a big fight in Hong Kong where this poster is selling tickets for the 2014-15 season, so it's pretty clear that the timeline is totally screwed up. I mean, this is obviously supposed to be 2014, but that means that the last one had to be 09, but they had a calendar up for 2010, so that makes no sense. And even if that was 09, that would mean that Sam would need 4 years of college before it, so the first movie would have to be 2005 at the latest. And considering that his birthday on his ID was 1991, that would put him at 14 years old in the first movie, and he's in high school. And things are clearly dated 07 in that one, so damn you, Michael Bay, and your script coordinators. So look, ignore that stuff and make this 2018 because I'm not going back and revising all that work I did. Anyway, Optimus kills Beast 1.0, and then Lockdown and Galvatron escapes, and Optimus flies into space to find his alien creators. There was another 3-year gap, and in 2017, Transformers The Last Knight was released. It starts off in the Middle Ages, and Merlin shows up, and it's the Tooch again, and there's an alien ship, and the series retcons yet again just how long the Transformers have been on Earth. And there's a Dragon Transformer, and it cuts to 1600 years later, and hey, the Jesus is back, and hey, brother! And a quick flash of a screen shows us that we're in 2016 now, and yeah. I give up on making these dates work. Ignore the dates, we'll talk about it later. This one takes place 2 years later, 2020, and that's that. Marky Mark's back with a new Funky Bunch, and Lennox is back as well, as is Megatron, who looks like Megatron again, not like Galvatron. Optimus goes back to Cybertron, Hannibal Lecter pops in, and now there's a Donnie Autobot to go with the Walter. It turns out that Earth is actually Unicron, and Optimus Prime turns evil, and we meet Hot Rod and see Sam's photo, and it's implied that he's dead. And Vivian here was born in 85, and the staff of Merlin comes back into play, and Bumblebee and Brainwash Optimus fight, and Bee talks. Optimus says he hasn't heard his voice since Cybertron fell, which means I guess he forgot the ending of the first movie, and Cade suddenly has Excalibur. This is where we are now. Cybertron enters Earth's atmosphere because gravitational pull doesn't exist, I guess. Burton dies, and they get up into the ship and destroy the villain Quintessa. And Vivian grabs the staff and saves the day, and the Autobots ride off, and there's a mid-credit scene showing Quintessa survives, so I guess to set up more? Which brings us to this year's Bumblebee, which is either a prequel or a reboot. Apparently takes place in the 1980s, isn't directed by Michael Bay, and judging from the trailers has a strong intent to feature the classic cartoon looks of the characters, including Soundwave having a cassette player, so maybe there's hope for this one? Nah. So I know all this is confusing, so let's simplify it. Let's remove the actual years and just call the first movie Year X. Revenge of the Fallen is said to take place 2 years later, so that becomes X plus 2. The third movie takes place after Sam finishes college, which he has just begun in part 2, so that's 4 years later, so Dark of the Moon becomes X plus 6. Age of Extinction says it's 5 years after the battle at the ending of the last one, so it's X plus 11, and The Last Night appears to be 2 years after that, so it's now X plus 13. So there you have it, it's 5 movies. With the lengths of them, it was more like 9. Each one of these movies is like 2.5 hours long. They're lengthy. I need a breather. I mean, they were pretty hard to watch. So let's watch something worse. So we jump now to an alternate reality to 2007 and the Transmorphers, which has to be related, right? I mean, the title's almost identical, and there's giant robots on the box. It says we discovered life on another planet in 2009 and sent a signal, and then they responded 5 years later. They destroy Earth, and whoa, those are some groundbreaking graphics. And humans live underground, and it's apparently much, much later. This girl says that they've wasted 100 years, so it's well into the 2100s. Humans go to fight them, but the robots have developed the ability to change into everyday items to blend in and attack. Be thrilled as characters argue in one underground room before moving to a different underground room to argue in. And then this group of soldiers, who happen to all be young, attractive women, go into battle, and wow, those guns are, guess they're really shooting. Our hero finds out that he's an android, and there's some of the shoddiest green screen since the first episode of Horror Timelines. There's a bunch of battles that are basically a lot of pew-pews, and about 10 humans fight 1 million robots, and no one ever really seems to be in too much danger. Like, This girl is surrounded by two massive robots with dozens of missiles on them, and they presume her dead. And 5 minutes later, she just strolls in, unharmed. Android guy sacrifices himself to destroy the robot radio tower, which kills them all, and the sun comes out. For some reason, I guess enough people saw Transmorphers that they decided to make a sequel in 2009 with Transmorphers Fall of Man. It's set in the present, and Tron's here, and this phone becomes a spider, and this woman tries to pull it off of her face, but she's really holding it on her face. And they make contact, which the last film told us happens in 2009, so that's when this one takes place. A satellite transmorphs, and Terran shows up sans mohawk, and there's Robo Shenanigans. And Sheridan goes down, but I guess we bounce to 2013 since we see the aliens arrive, although the dialogue makes it seem like it's right after, so I guess the narration of the first movie was wrong, and the signal and the aliens arriving all took place in 2009. More totally unconvincing action sequence pass, and they accidentally release toxic gases into the atmosphere. Whoops! Which causes the humans to seek refuge underground and set up the events of the first film. So there you have it. It's 2 Transmorphers movies and 5 Transformers movies. And I gotta tell you, Transformers movies, I know that we make fun of some of the really bottom-of-the-barrel indie horror movies that I have to watch for this, and some of the really, really terrible things that I have to watch for this channel. But these were worse than most of them. I had a really hard time watching these guys. They're really long. They're not good, and they're really, really expensive, and people go to see them like crazy. Like a lot of you guys go to see these movies, and I don't understand it, because I'd rather watch any Puppet Master movie than any Transformers movie any day of the week. So don't do this to me again, guys. Oh, hey, I did it to myself. Don't do this to yourself again. I won't. Well, let me know what you thought of this movie, of this series. If you have anything to say about the Transformers movies, or if you want to defend them, do it down below. Let me know. Maybe you think these are great movies. I don't know. Let me know what you thought of those. Let me know what you thought of this whole video. Like and subscribe it. Do all that good stuff. Also, check out the Patreon page as usual. Check that out. These guys are my patrons. Thank you to you guys. Thank you for helping support this channel and keep it going. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys. And I appreciate everyone for watching as well, too. And I'll see you again another couple weeks for another great video, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.